Welcome to Shaping Stories, a glass artist podcast. Here we sit down with hot glass artists from around the world to explore their creative paths, what inspires them, and the real moments that shape their work. Thank you for being here. Want to introduce yourself?
I am Alan Jess. I own Twisted Flame Glassworks out here in Wheaton, Illinois, which is about 40 miles west of Chicago. We moved out of Chicago, so I don't say I live in Chicago anymore. I used to hate when people do that and lived in the suburbs, but I'm out here in Wheaton.
And let's skip the glass part of your life for just a moment. You want to tell us what you do besides glass? What do you enjoy? What do you do for fun? A little bit of outside glass life?
I work for a very large telecom company. I won't say which one, but it begins with A and ends in T. I've done that for 29 years of my life. It's been an awesome career. It really has. It's afforded me the ability to pursue glass and to buy stuff, just kind of come home and just kind of throw out creative stuff. It's really been, I think to be creative, you need some type of force that makes you not creative, and then you could kind of shoot creativity out. At least that's kind of been my yin and yang with work and the creative process. So work helps me be creative. What else? What do I do for fun? I go fishing. I have a little dog I walk. She's totally cool. I have a cat. I have a lovely wife. We ride motorcycles together. My wife rides her own motorcycle. She's amazing on two wheels and just amazing in general. And that's about it.
That's a full life you got right there.
It's not bad. I really can't complain.
Sounds great, especially for the summer coming, right?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It is such a beautiful day today. We've got the sun out, and my studio's outside, so I got the barn doors open behind you, and it's just beautiful out there.
And can you tell me about when you started doing glass?
Well, as I said before, I'm a fisherman. So what I did was I started making these lures. They were little hooks and they had a glass bead on them. And I found a way to get the glass beads for free. And I had a map torch and I would melt the glass in a cast iron pan. And I would push the hooks into the soft glass, and then I would coat them with like an epoxy with like a glow powder, and they would glow. They were really cool. I had a bunch of articles written up. I was on radio shows, and somebody got a hold of it, and apparently there was a design patent issue, and I got sued in Georgia for making these things. I was going to fight it, and I'm like, you know what, man, it's just really not worth it. And I was going to kind of give them away at one point, and then I'm like, forget it. But that kind of got me rolling on glass, kind of took the direction towards art glass.
I'm still processing this. That's crazy that somebody can sue you for a process, not like a name or like
Right. For a design, because somebody somewhere decided that you could push a hook into hot glass, which didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But yeah, it was kind of a big thing. They were suing me for like 30 grand or some crazy stuff, and this was 20 years ago.
Wow.
I didn't really have anything, and I was selling them, but I wasn't making tons of cash or anything. But it was cool to kind of have the 15 minutes of fame, if you will, in the fishing community, because I am a fisherman and I met a lot of people and would go on some trips with people. It was really kind of a cool thing to kind of meet up with a lot of people and learn their stories and hang out with them. It was kind of cool. I kind of miss that actually.
When you got into glass, did you self-teach? Like you were self-taught with your like fish part, right? And then you're moving on from that. Did you go and take a class somewhere, or were you just back to the drawing board on figuring it out on your own?
I took a class. Uh, I've always been of the mind where this is what I want to learn. I want to know how to do with this specific one thing. I got a hold of this dude, Ed. There's a glass blowing studio in Chicago, but he was one of the founders of Made Chicago. I don't know if you ever heard of that. They sell a lot of glassware, a lot of pipes and stuff like that. And they're fairly big in Chicago. I got a hold of him and I said, I want to know how to do this and this. And he kind of taught me some basics. I also had a kid come over and teach me kind of some things, but it's pretty much kind of trial and error, I think, in trying not to burn your fingers off.
Can you describe your work as it was then, and then maybe leading up to what you're focusing on now?
Let's see. So I would just kind of play around on the torch. I got an oxyacetylene torch, one of those little cheap ones, and I still use them today. I love them. I got one of those and I would make pendants. I would start to make pendants in small marbles. And one of my wife's friends was like, hey, those are really neat. I was making heart pendants. And she was like, I need 40 of them for these gifts I'm going to give away to company. And I was like, oh my God, I'm making it big and this is going to be awesome. And I did all 40 of them, and all 40 of them were totally different. They were really cool. And that kind of got the ball rolling on pendants and marbles. I always admired John Kabuki's work, the floral marbles. Fortunate enough to take a week-long class and hang out with him in Corning, New York, which was really an awesome experience. And then it just kind of snowballs. You go, oh well, I want to make this, and then you see something else and go, I want to make that, and I want to learn this, and it all kind of comes together. I think after 20, I think it's been almost 20 years. Yeah, about 20 years doing glass.
And you started with soft glass. Did you change over to borosilicate?
No, I went. They tell me I went backwards. So I started with borosilicate, and I still have piles of borosilicate, and then I went to soft glass. So I don't know, hey, whatever. Soft glass was just easier to do what I wanted to do now, to do paperweights and to do castings. You got to do soft glass. I did a casting in boro and I was so freaked out, but it did turn out because it was so expensive. I had to get 3 pounds of that glass, but it did turn out. I was pretty happy with that. And so was my client.
What
But
type
yeah,
of
I went backwards from boro to soft glass.
are you working 96 or 90 or 104?
Love the Italian glass, so it's
Yes, that's
104.
right.
Yes, yes, love the Italians.
Yeah, that color is great. Yeah.
It's unbelievable, and that was kind of the drawback of boro is you didn't have the color palette. The drawback in soft is clear is such a complete pain to work with, especially if you're encasing, if you're doing paperweights and stuff like that. To get a good clear is really difficult to do. But those were the huge major differences I found between boro and soft glass.
How did you get from paperweights and pendants over to casting?
I hurt my knee and I was out of work for a while, and I live right close to Ed Hoy in Naperville, Illinois. They do a bunch of classes and they are a big glass distributor. They have a lot of product in kilns. And I went on their website. I was still kind of healing, but kind of bored at home. And I saw this casting class. And I was like, wow, I'm going to take that. That sounds really cool. And I always wanted to do bigger 3D objects. There's certain things you could do with a torch, certain things you could do with a furnace, and certain things you got to do casting. and that's glass. And I took that class and I was just kind of blown away. And I kind of put it on the shelf for a little bit and just started this winter just cracking it out and trying to come up with cool ideas and in a process and make it work. And it's been pretty good. I'm really happy with how things have turned out.
Yeah, I'm loving that work. That's what you shared something on a Facebook group, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn more about this.
But
Yeah.
it's so interesting with glass is glass would if you want to make something, it's a process, and it's a process that requires tools and knowledge, and I just love the technical aspect of glass. I'm a technician by heart. That's what I do, fix things, and just to be involved in solving how am I going to make this out of this raw glass. It's so cool. I love it.
Can you nerd out a little bit and verbalize what your studio space is like and what your favorite pieces of equipment are and what kind of torch you use, stuff like that for everyone to visualize your working space?
Well, we're in part of my studio now,
Uh-huh.
which you really can't see most of it. My studio is a tough shed that I had built when we moved in. We moved out to Wheaton about 3 years ago. I had a shed for my snowblower in my garage, and I'm like, wow, it'd be really cool if I could build, a studio because I've been working in my basement. I was working in my basement in my Chicago house, which probably really wasn't the safest of things, but it got me through. And I built this studio. I think it's 16 feet by 12 feet. So it's not huge by any stretch of the imagination. I have a bunch of little kilns I use for paperweights. And I have a big giant kiln I just got for casting. And I got this kiln that I love, my Paragon, a true blue. I've had that since the beginning, and it still works and kicks ass. I use these really cheap little torches. I think they're $100 a piece for my lamp working and making the setups for the paperweights. And then I got a GTT torch, which I love. I was on a Carlisle for a while, but that thing was so poppy, and I loved it. I loved kind of the old timiness of it, but then I stepped up to the GTT, and I love that torch. That's pretty much the tools of the trade, I think, and a bunch of glass.
Are you running on an oxygen concentrator or do you bring in tanks?
I bring in tank, and it's always a search to find something affordable. I know the big oxygen people want to, just it's ridiculous what they charge for tanks of oxygen. But I got a local guy. He's totally awesome. He charges me half price of what the big guys charge, so it all kind of works out.
Yeah.
And that's part of glasswork too. You really have to be diligent and to find deals and to find who's got this and do research on equipment and consumables and stuff like that. So I am pretty good at that too. So
Yeah, all the elements. Do you find that the GTT is nice to the soft glass, or did you find that switch over from the Carlisle to be challenging? Or the Carlisle is already pretty harsh anyway, right?
it is pretty harsh. If you set that GTT right, you could do anything with that torch. You could fume. It's good on. You really got to pump oxygen, crank the oxygen up, and cool that flame down for the soft glass. But it works, and it works quite well. It works with the glass I have. Other stuff, I don't know. And that's the other thing with being a glass artist and finding a product that you like. You have to buy hundreds of pounds of it because you don't know if it's going to be made tomorrow, and you don't know who's going to buy the last of the last, or if they're going to stop. It's just so I think I bought 300 pounds of this clear, and I've been going through it slowly. And it's awesome, and the torch loves it. So, and the furnace, I got a little baby furnace, glory hole in that. It works great in that too. So it all works.
That's so cool. What does your wife think about all this stuff you got going on in your yard?
She loves it, but she hates it when I spend money. but then she likes it when I make money. So it's I don't know. She gets all my rejects that I don't sell, which are some of the stuff back here. Some of the stuff I'll keep, or some of the stuff is so cool. I'm like, I don't want to get rid of it. I'm just going to keep it, and I'll keep it. But she's been pretty supportive, and I'm really happy with that. It's cool.
And do your neighbors know that you're there, or are you secretly like kind of hiding from the community and the town or whatnot?
You know what? I kind of some of my neighbors know, and I don't really think they care or think about it. Kind of like to lay low. And my one neighbor is an electrician, though, and he was over here a couple weeks ago running some more electric for me out here. And he's like, "Oh, this is awesome, man. We got to hang out." I'm like, "Yeah, definitely." So I do have some fans in the neighborhood, and then other ones I'm just like, kind of like to, kind of steer away from.
Yeah. Hey, an electrician friend is always a win, though, for real.
Without a doubt. Need a good electrician, doctor, and a butcher, and a lawyer, and you're all set. You're good to go for life.
Yeah, yeah. So do you focus on selling your work at all, or it's just because you're making your money with your full-time job and you're making glass around that? Do you stress about selling your work? Do you feel a little sense of relief that that's not where the weight is for your glass work?
I First of all, I think the people that create art and live on their art, I just I have so much admiration for them, and I think that's totally cool to follow that and develop that. I think that is just the coolest thing to follow your dream and live that. I think that's so cool. But do I stress about selling it? No. Does it make me? I think I sell it to feed the beast. So you sell it so you could buy more glass and more things in a bigger kiln, in a better torch, and then you're just kind of recycling things. I think so, and that's kind of what I do. And I think that seems to be fairly common in the art world. I think you're just always feeding that circle, and it's just and you're developing new things and new processes as you're going through that circle, as you're making that money, and it helps. It's awesome. I never wanted to be like a one trick pony and go, okay, this is what I do. I make pipes, or I make this, or I make that, and that's it. I always wanted to learn different processes and make different things, and I've made pipes. I have.
How do you plan your schedule? Do you tend to work like a 9 to 5 and then give yourself a few hours in the studio? Do you find that it's hard to have like a clear separation between work, home, and glass at home?
um, I think the problem is I constantly think about glass. It's always on my mind, and it never stops, even when I'm at work. When I'm at work, I'm working. It's not like I'm stressing. I'm in front of a computer, and oh my god, we got 1,000 TPO reports we got to do. Uh, it's pretty chill, and I could design stuff and think about glass, and I could do that. And then when I get home, if I'm rolling on a project, I just don't stop. I come home and I go right in the studio and I hang out. I'll I start work at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I'm up really early. I have to be at work at 6 o'clock in the morning. So sometimes I'll get up at 3 in the morning and go in the studio for a couple hours. And it's just so quiet and peaceful. And that kind of helps me think, or if I gotta get something in the kiln that morning, I'll do that. And then, come home the next day and get it out of the kiln. But it's unfortunate that I have just a horrible glass habit, and it's an addiction. It really is. And it's been an addiction for decades so far. And it's never going to go away, I hope.
Have you ever felt stuck or uninspired or in a slump, like
Oh,
confused
sure. Sure.
direction?
I think everybody had, I think COVID really played a role in kind of bringing everybody down a notch or two. I think those were just some weird times, man. And that kind of stumped me. But again, I think you go in circles and you go in cycles. You're like, wow, this is amazing. And then you just kind of chill out for a little bit. I usually do that. And in the summer when it's 95 degrees out, I'm really not in the studio all that much. Um, when in especially and then in the winter when it's 10 below, I started to do the castings because I could have two kilns going and it's nice and toasty in the studio then. So I just, like I said, I started that this winter. But yeah, it's, you kind of run in cycles. You know, you're inspired and you're creating, and then I just kind of chill out for a little bit. And and that's kind of how it works for a little bit, maybe a week or two, or maybe even a month, you know, and just kind of go do some other things, kind of clear your head, and then things come to you.
Do you work to promote yourself and your work? I found you through Facebook groups. Do you tend to do that stuff a lot, or does that ebb and flow with all the rest of the responsibilities or things that you're trying to go through?
You know what? When I came up with the gummy bear castings and the lifesaver castings, I was like, oh man, these are really cool, and I wanted to promote them, and I wanted to get myself out there. It's hard to do that. It really is. And I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm talking to you. You know, is to kind of promote and kind of get your name out there. And hey, you know what? I'm just not some weirdo from Wheaton that lives in a shed. I could actually make some pretty nice stuff. I think self promotion is hard sometimes for a lot of people. It's hard for me. You know, it's hard for me to even sit and talk about myself for all that long. I don't think I'm that interesting, but I don't know. So a few people do. Thank God my wife does.
And have you found that the glass community has been really supportive when you have promoted yourself? I think everyone was really kind. Have you come across people that maybe weren't so kind, besides you getting sued, obviously?
I think there's always going to be a hater out there for something.
Yeah.
Like the guy made some guy made some comment on the lifesavers that it was art with no substance or something like that. And I was like, what a dick comment. I'm like, what? But I think you have the glass community, and then I think you have a community within that people want to work together and see everybody succeed. And I'm part of that community. I have one guy, George. He's a glass blower. The guy is the nicest guy, and he's like, I'm not competing with anybody. I want everybody to succeed. And I never thought art was a competition or making anything was a competition. If you need my help, call me up. You know, I'll be more than happy to guide you, help you as best I could. But there's always a few haters out there, and I love that, and I think it's hilarious. I really do.
And so you're good at laughing it off. Do you have suggestions for mindsets for people that might take it personally or might let the hater that says something mean about your really cool lifesaver rock their world or shift them off their axis? Like, how do you get that mindset of keep trudging through and ignore that person?
I think working for the phone company has really helped me develop a really thick skin because people hate the phone company, and you really had to smooth that over. So just have a thick skin and don't worry about what other people think. If you think it's cool, trust me, there's 1,000 other people that think it's really cool, and you might have one or two people that want to hate on it. But honestly, the haters are the ones that like it the most. Quite honestly, they really do, and they kind of wish they can kind of came up with it, and they were doing what you do, and that's kind of what I found. But to let people drag you down or bring you down is ridiculous. I never subscribed to that belief. So do your thing, man, because you're going to be successful. And if you want to really, really be successful, just go grind it out, grind it every day, and do you.
Know if there's something else that you thought that you wanted to talk about, or if you have more words of wisdom that you want to leave everyone with. That was a really good you do you thing. That was good words of wisdom, but
Words of wisdom from the old guy with the gray beard. Words of wisdom. I just think, you know what, man, do you. If you need help, reach out to the people that will help you and inform that family of people that you have their back, they have your back, and just help each other grow, help each other promote your stuff. Just help each other develop different processes, and just do your thing and don't worry about anybody else. And if you got to worry about money, I don't know, man. Just it's tough. It really is. And that was part of the COVID thing. Nobody was buying anything. Art, I think, was kind of at a standstill. But just, yeah, do your thing is kind of my words of wisdom. And you'll be successful. I guarantee it. If you wake up and do it, and if you live it and breathe it and do it, you will be successful at it. There's no doubt about
Hmm. And where can everyone find you online to support you?
it. I'm on Facebook at Twisted Flame Glassworks. I have a website, Alan, AlanJess.com. The website I really don't update as much as I should. Kind of technician and glass blower, and have a lot of jobs and wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, come and visit. Ask me some questions. If you're stuck on something or if you need help with something, let me know, man. I'm here to help. I've helped out more than a few people, and I want you to make it, succeed, make your stuff, make your cool stuff. I want to see it.
I love that. Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
good. Thank you so much for listening to Shaping Stories. If you like our podcast, please make sure to follow on whatever platform you're listening on. We are always grateful for your reviews to help other artists find us. You can find us on Shaping Stories Pod on Facebook and Instagram. And please make sure to support this artist that we interviewed today. It's a lot of guts to come on here, and we appreciate them being vulnerable and sharing, and especially for their very valuable time. If you know somebody that might like to be interviewed, or you might like to be interviewed yourself, I would love that. Please send an email over to me to dom@terrapinglass.com. I really look forward to seeing you, and I can't wait to continue with this project.